As part of Fáilte Ireland's supports on driving domestic sales, boosting sales with social media, this video takes you through getting Instagram right. There are 1 billion monthly active users using Instagram. If you're not, why aren't you here? Let's compare those stats. Facebook has 2.2 billion users. Twitter has 330 million. So Instagram is the second largest social media network, and it was the second most downloaded app on the iStore in 2019 after TikTok. You might be wondering why I'm not talking about TikTok, and the reason why is because you haven't built an audience there yet. And if we're going to focus our attention on doing something really right to come back after COVID, getting Instagram right is a really good first thing to do. Trust me on this. The reason Instagram took off was because it borrowed an idea from Snapchat called Instagram Stories. This was in 2016. And Instagram Stories completely changed Instagram for the better. Prior to 2016, Instagram was all about highly stylized, beautiful images, the home of the selfie, and it attracted a certain type of person who liked to participate there. But when Instagram Stories came along in 2016, these are short, snappy little pieces of video or images that disappear after 24 hours, or they used to. This changed Instagram fundamentally. It became a much more fun place to be, less stylized, less concerned with itself, and much more fun. And what happened was more and more people came onto using the platform. So at the same time as Facebook was suffering some problems due to Cambridge Analytica, many early adopter adults decided to give Instagram a whirl. Also, lots of teenagers were leaving Snapchat and coming on to Instagram, and these guys have all grown up a little bit. So now it means that Instagram is a really vibrant and the second largest social media network. So it's definitely not one to overlook. How many people use Instagram stories every day? 500 million, 500 million. Do you want a piece of that action? I'm sure you do. You might be wondering about the male-female mix of people on Instagram. It's 52% female and 48% male, so it's fairly even. And the average Instagram user spends 28 minutes on the platform every day. The really good thing about Instagram, however, is that brands and businesses are welcome. If you remember, when Facebook started out first, it was a place where people came to interact. And then brands and businesses came along and they weren't really liked, but they came along anyway. But with Instagram, because it's a newer platform, brands and businesses were there from the beginning. So brands and businesses are welcome, and most Instagram followers will follow loads of brands and businesses. So you're okay. You're wanted at this party. This party has 500 million people on Instagram stories every day and 1 billion users every month. Let me take you through how you can use Instagram to grow your business. Instagram is primarily a mobile app that you can download and engage with on your mobile. There's also a desktop version as well that you can use if you're posting content or if you want to look after engagement with your audience. Instagram is really well suited to tourism, as these examples show. And 55% of millennials book hotels based on their social media, and Instagram is the favorite platform. So if you're in the hotels game, you really have to be on Instagram in 2020. Every major destination is on the platform, and they share beautiful content that people follow and share and engage with. So if you want a piece of this action, you've got to be on Instagram now. Instagram is famous for its food. Food is massive on the platform, and 30% of 18 to 34-year-olds have said that they would actually avoid restaurants who had a poor Instagram presence. Another bonus of having a good Instagram feed is that it works really well on website integration. If you add a plugin to your website to display your Instagram content on your website, this will provide a beautiful and aesthetically pleasing social feed, unlike the ones you get from some of the other social media platforms. I hope I've convinced you that Instagram is a viable place to be for your travel, tourism, or hospitality business in the summer of 2020. Let's take a look at the type of content that is posted on Instagram so you can start considering how you can plan your content to add to Instagram. There are 4 places on Instagram where you can post content. Instagram stories is the shortest shelf life. It's supposed to disappear after 24 hours. It is portrait, which means it's fully immersive. When someone is engaging with your Instagram stories content, they are only seeing that content. They're not seeing any other furniture from the Instagram site. It's a really good place to be. Instagram stories content is fun. It can be an image or it can be video, or you can use lots and lots of different sticker options to make it into something much more engaging. More on this in a little bit. Another place on Instagram where you can post content is to the feed or the grid. This is the famous structure of square images that go 3 across and they work down. It can be a little challenging at first to make sure your images are square in size, but it's well worth it, trust me. When you're posting content on the feed, you can post images, you can post video, and what's proving quite popular, increasingly so post-COVID, are carousels. And this is where you can post 1 or more images to tell a story. They're great for before and afters. The video length on the Instagram feed can be up to 60 seconds long. And what happens is if you post a video that is longer than that, it will show on the feed, but then it will encourage users to come on over to IGTV, which is Instagram TV, where they can see the rest of the video. Now, this is something that Instagram created to kind of take on YouTube, and it's for longer form content of videos. I don't recommend that you spend too much time on IGTV if you're only getting started with Instagram. When you're getting started, you need to concentrate on growing your audience, producing your content, and engaging with your audience. IGTV and Instagram Live are 2 other places that you can post content. Instagram Live was extremely popular during COVID times. If you turned on your Instagram anytime after 6 p.m., your feed was littered with celebrities and influencers performing lives. Again, I would suggest if you're only starting out with Instagram, just focus on stories and the feed and let's get them right. And you can always come back and look for help on Instagram Live at a later date. Something I know to be true is that Instagram accounts that have a very clearly defined brand aesthetic or a look perform so much better, attract way more followers, and get much more engagement than accounts that don't. Because I want you all to do really well with your campaigns this summer, I'm going to take you through the steps that you need to follow to come up with your Instagram brand aesthetic. Are you ready? When I refer to the brand aesthetic, I'm talking about a kind of a mood board or a look that you're going to have for all of your posts on Instagram. You might choose to have a brand aesthetic or a mood board that's all about green and healthy. Or maybe pink and tropical colors are your color palette that you're going to use on your Instagram mood board. A lot of bars favor dark and cozy. Or another popular approach is to go for a tiled look, like the Virgin Mary bar have done here. And this is where you would organize your posts so that every other one is a tile where you could put a message to do with your offer, or you could put an inspirational quote, or you could do something to make that content stand out from the other images and videos that are in your feed. To support the brand aesthetic for Instagram, we developed a download. Let's take a look at the elements here that you can fill in order to get your Instagram mood board right. You will notice in the left-hand column that there are 5 large boxes. These are areas for you to fill in 5 words that sum up the brand or the vibe of your business. These are 5 key words that you would like to be known for. You might use words like pampering, luxury, if you're about freedom. Maybe you're about Irish food, folklore, castles, gardens, wide open spaces. Take some time now to fill in 5 words that sum up what your brand is going to be about on Instagram. In the second column, there are 5 smaller boxes, and in here you can write words for content that you might use to support the first column. So in the example we've been working on throughout this series, is it an image like this or is it an image like this? And this will further denote your vibe and your brand. If you like, you can carry out this step on Pinterest using a mood board, or you can copy and paste images that you find on the web into a document. The important thing is that you get examples of what the images mean to you. And the really great thing is when you've taken this step and you look at the sheet that you've created or the mood board, you are going to see a very definite color palette appearing to you. This moment is magic, I can tell you. So when you know what your color palette is, for example, we are always using greens, like the Sprout Food Company, with maybe a pink accent color, that is the color palette that you are always going to use on your Instagram posts. The next step is to decide on what filters you're going to use. So filters are these remarkable things which are on Instagram or on separate apps that run for Instagram. And it enables you to kind of put a hue or a color over your image so that it's always going to look similar or the same. So the next step is to decide which filters from Instagram or the other apps best describe your brand and attributes. So if you're an adventure company, you're going to be going for bright colors to show off the color and the green and the outdoorsiness of what it is you offer. So all you need to do now is go on to Instagram, upload an image and run your finger over the filters to find the ones that you like the best. Write this one down onto your Instagram brand aesthetic mood board, and congratulations, you've completed your brand aesthetic for Instagram. Share this with your team and make sure that every image you put onto Instagram has the same look and the same filter as the ones you've decided upon based on your brand vibe. So you've done the planning before you've come to Instagram and you know what your brand aesthetic or your mood board is going to look like. Now, let's take a little look at your profile on Instagram. It's really important to get this right because your profile is kind of like the homepage of your website. It's the first piece that people will see when they're checking you out on Instagram, so you've got to make sure you've got it right. Firstly, you should talk to your audience, write for your audience. So make sure that you're emphasizing things in your profile that they are likely to be interested in. Feel free to use emojis in your description. This example of the Old Barracks coffee roasters is a typical example of how they are showing all the different things that they do through the medium of emoji. Top tip from me, it's much easier to do this when you're working on the desktop version of Instagram than when you're working on the mobile version of Instagram. Use your URL wisely. The most annoying thing about Instagram is that you really only get one place to put a link to your website that's clickable if you've got less than 10,000 followers. So for most of us mere mortals, this is the one place where we are going to be able to put a clickable link. If you have a campaign running for summer, you're going to want to put a link to your landing page. And the reason for this is because when you're putting all of your content with the offer out, you're going to refer to link in the bio. And this is where people will come to click that link and go to your website. But if you're a smaller business and you don't have a widely known hashtag, you don't need to use hashtags in your bio. Have a little moment now to make sure that you have a lovely clear logo. You've described your offer well, you're wearing your most up-to-date link to your landing page, and maybe you've spiced it up with some emojis. Then let's move on. It's a good idea when you create an account to post 9 images pretty quickly because that is going to fill your grid. Don't worry if you don't have 9 images ready to go. It's a nice to have rather than a necessity. But that area where the images are appearing in square, going 3 across, that's known as your grid or your feed. This is the place where I'm urging you to only post the most beautiful, evocative images filtered using the colors you've agreed on in your brand aesthetic. It's a better idea to post less on Instagram grids rather than more. We only want to see things of beauty here, so it kind of lets you off the hook. It's not like Facebook where you have to come in and post every single day. On Instagram, you can post once or twice a week, and you don't always have to be creating the content yourself. You could also share other people's beautiful inspirational content so long as it feeds into the brand attributes that you want to put across that you've set out in your brand aesthetic. It can be a good idea to establish an angle that you're going to do your best shots from. So, for example, if you're shooting food or you're shooting drinks, or indeed you're shooting the outside of a hotel, it's a good idea to identify where the building or the object is showing its best self and always shoot from this particular angle. So, this kind of consistency of angle and filter is what makes Instagram work best. Instagram stories, as I've said before, is the fun side of Instagram. And it's a side where you can really show the backstory to your brand. You can show off your team. You can show how you gather ideas for your menus. You can show work in progress on your building. There's so many ideas of content that you can show on your Instagram stories. Brands and businesses that are on Instagram tend to post about 2 to 3 stories on Instagram per week. Now, there are 500 million daily active users who are there to consume these stories. And the reason why businesses are posting is because stories get 2 to 3 times more engagement than regular posts. It's something about the kind of fun nature of them that makes people want to engage directly with the business or brand. And when they do that, it comes into your inbox as a direct message, as opposed to a comment that's publicly visible for everyone else to see, which is the case over on the newsfeed. This is fantastic because it enables you to develop one-to-one relationships with people who are checking out your content and considering engaging with your business. With Instagram stories, the focus is much more on creativity than design. And I'm going to show you some great ideas that will get you started on your Instagram stories journey. There are lots of ways that you can show the backstory to your brand and what's going on behind the scenes through Instagram stories. And it is these stories that people love to engage with. These are just some examples that we found looking through hospitality sector stories, and I urge you to go and have a look for yourself. You'll find wonderful and creative ways of people showing how they're doing what they love doing best. I love the example at the end of Paris Court Gardens, where one of their gardeners is talking through how he goes about planting rose bushes. So if you have an audience of people looking at the Paris Court Gardens Instagram, you know they're going to be into gardens. They're used to seeing the beautiful stylized images on the Instagram grid of the gardens, but now using stories, you can show how these gardens get made. Perhaps the best thing about Instagram stories is that they can actually be saved for more than 24 hours. You can publish them to highlights, and this means that the story will appear at the top of your profile on Instagram. This means that you can show off features or attributes of your brand that you want people to know. Think back to your Instagram brand aesthetic that you've filled out and the 5 points. That could be 5 highlights that you're going to fill with content for your Instagram at the start. Now, you can have a lot of highlights, but the best practice really is to go with 4 or 5. And the reason for this is that 4 or 5 is what can be seen when you're looking on the mobile view. People don't really scroll to see more highlights. Another handy tip is that you can design some beautiful images that are going to act as your highlight story covers. And all you have to do is design them in portrait and post them as a story, and then you can highlight them and they can act as the cover to the highlight. So this is how this was achieved, and it's a really nice way of encapsulating 5 attributes about your business that you want them to know more about. Here's how to post a story to Instagram Stories. The first thing you need to do is consider what type of content you are posting. So you can go with text only for an all text update. You can go with photos, you can go with videos, you can have a poll, a quiz. Boomerang is really popular, or you can go with super zoom. These are all asset types, and I would strongly suggest you go and have a little play and get to know which ones you know and like and you want to use for your business. When you have selected what asset type you're going to use, so in the case of Epic Adventures, we're choosing to run with an image. Next thing, you get to jazz up the image with stickers, and this is where the fun really begins. Now, these are really important because the first 3 stickers are ones that you can use to signpost your post and get it found beyond your existing audience. So at the minimum, you need to be using the location, the mention, and the hashtag sticker. So you can add a location sticker just like this. You can tap it to make it appear with a different color. You can reduce it. You can move it around on your image until you're happy with where it's sitting. And you can do that with mentions and hashtags. So mentions are where you're tagging the name of the person that's in the image. And hashtags, we've covered that before, would be a hashtag you're using to get your content found further than your existing audience. You want to join a conversation of people talking about traveling in Ireland this summer. You can get really creative and have fun with stickers, and there's lots of other stories features. GIFs are really popular, and I do recommend them for business use. You can add countdowns, so you might consider adding a countdown until you're back again. Or you can use questions, and you can use emojis, and you can have lots of fun. I urge you to have a little play with stickers, and don't be afraid. If you post something out and you don't like it, it's very easy to delete. So when you post your story, it asks you who you want to see this. The best thing to do is to show it to your whole audience. It will go out, and unless you save it to highlights, it's going to disappear after 24 hours. If it's a good piece of content, you can go back and you can tap to add it to highlights. My 3 takeaways about Instagram are to develop your Instagram brand aesthetic. This alone is going to give you a really strong competitive advantage. Only post the most beautiful and stunning images on your feed. There are so many places where you can source images from and lots of apps to help you look good. Have fun with stories. We are a nation of storytellers, so show off your brand personality, share behind the scenes material, and have fun with it. The template to support this video is located here on the Fall to Ireland website. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this useful.